Hey there guys, welcome back to my playthrough of Devil May Cry 1, and you'll notice that I said playthrough, not blind playthrough. It's because I played through this game on hard difficulty to unlock Dante Must Die difficulty, and I had already seen Seraphim 17's walkthrough of Dante Must Die, as well as that speedrun of Dante Must Die as well, so I'm up to date on certain things with regards to Devil May Cry 1's mechanics and other things, but I don't think people realize just how badly designed the start of Devil May Cry 1 is when you're trying to do it on New Game. There is a reason why they make it where you have to play on hard difficulty to unlock Dante Must Die difficulty, because it's almost like Dante Must Die was made with New Game Plus in mind. And because of the fact that you can select Dante Must Die from a new game rather than from New Game Plus, it really leads to a lot of confusion of why they thought this was a good idea. Because this first mission requires so much luck and bullshit when trying to eliminate all those mannequins to unlock the door that ends the mission without relying upon the animation cancel strategy. Remember that trick I showcased where you can do these two sword slashes in rapid succession? Because apparently the reason why people do that is because it's a lot more effective at dealing damage and also for hitting multiple enemies. But I said you had to press circle after you did the second sword slash at the right moment to actually cancel it, but that's not true. You have to actually rotate the left analog stick after the second slash to allow you to redo the two slashes. So like this. See how much faster that is? And I like to hold R1 when I'm doing that because I feel like it's a bit easier, but you don't have to do that. But you'll understand exactly how bad this mission is when you don't have access to all of the tools immediately. And a lot of this just feels like farming for resources because it really turns the entire experience into an RPG mess. It really becomes an RPG slop because of the amount of times you're put into encounters that aren't befitting for the game's systems. It's rather obnoxious. And because of how awkward and bad the sequence with the mannequins was when starting a new game, and also because of how terrible certain parts of the game were on my hard difficulty playthrough, I decided to do a lot of farming on this mission so that I could quickly access a lot of necessary abilities and important items like the holy water, whilst also allowing me to have enough red orbs for doors and for other things. Because honestly, on New Game, it just feels like it's better to use two holy waters against those mannequins that appear, because on Dante Must Die difficulty, there are certain encounters where the enemies will gain access to a devil trigger status, much like what you're able to gain access to, and they will be unable to be flinched, at least with certain enemies. I think with the blades, they were able to flinch from my sword hits and also from the shotgun, but with the mannequins, they never flinch whatsoever, and they also get a tremendous boost to HP, so you can be spending 10 minutes shooting your guns trying to get rid of those mannequins, and it is just so soulless and downright mind-numbing and really pathetic. If it's going to be designed like that, you might as well just make it where when the timer runs out, you just die. I can't imagine why the player would want to be forced into positions where they're going to be shooting their guns endlessly until the enemy dies. And let me give you an idea as to how much farming I did. Look at that. 26,143 red orbs. If you're wondering how I farmed that many red orbs, I simply farmed them off of one particular fetish coming up. Dealing with the fetish is simple because you simply launch them into the air with the uppercut, then repeatedly shoot them with your pistols. I did this so much that my right hand started to hurt from the amount of mashing I was doing. This is what you're putting up with in order to make Dante Must Die practical and less reliant on luck, bullcrap, and bizarre exploits, like with the animation cancel trick I mentioned for New Game. And it doesn't help that Devil May Cry 1 has a lot of poor designs with its mechanics, the camera, the enemies, etc. When you're having to resort to this kind of method to ensure that you can get rid of a large group of enemies very quickly before they devil trigger, because the regular combo attacks are completely useless because you're stuck in animation frames, and this is giving the enemies plenty of time to actually trigger their devil trigger status. You'll understand what I mean when I get to that particular encounter. And it's not just with those time sequences that the enemies get their devil trigger status. They can also devil trigger if you choose to deal with them outside of the timed encounters. So if you're staying too close to an enemy for too long, they'll trigger their devil trigger status. Okay, I missed this guy, but this is how I farmed the guy. Like that. So you just do the uppercut to launch him into the air and just fire your guns incredibly fast. Like this. helpful, but at the same time, when it's for the purposes of farming red orbs, because of how badly balanced Dante Must Die is on New Game, and it's clear they wanted you to start on New Game Plus, you're left with no other options but to do that. Dante Must Die really doesn't make sense for a difficulty mode, if you ask me. It feels like hard is more befitting than Dante Must Die. But let me just show you how bad the sequence is when you're not using that animation cancel method. This is the sequence with the mannequins. You just cannot kill these enemies fast enough. And these Bloody Marys, the ones that are red, they have so much HP compared to the green guys and the purple guys. And the other thing as well is that the enemies that you're dealing with can be random. So at times you can get like 5 green guys, but then other times you could be getting 5 red guys. You can be getting guys with guns, you could be getting guys with knives, you could be getting guys with those curved blades. I don't know why the enemy arrangement is randomized like that. It's really odd. It's just clear that they want you to do this on New Game Plus and use weapons like the grenade launcher and your Devil Trigger abilities to speed through the sections quickly. There's so much of this game where it feels almost impossible to do them without items because of how badly designed the game's mechanics are, the very poor designs associated with certain sections, and it's definitely important that I show them. But let me just show the sequence right now. Let's see, I'm not gonna have enough time to stop the enemies from Devil Triggering. Like, if I had 2 Holy Waters, I could deal with both waves of these mannequins. But I don't right now, so they're gonna Devil Trigger, and then this is where the game gets really, really stupid and retarded. Like, watch. So now the enemies are glowing, so this means that none of my hits are gonna make them flinch, and they get a tremendous boost to their HP, and they also deal a lot more damage to me. So this is literally what you're doing. You're just sitting in the back area, firing your guns for such a long time because these enemies have way too much life, and they're not flinching from my shots whatsoever. And I have to be careful here because this guy has a gun. The other problem is, because you don't have the ability to mute the music and also like mute the sound of your guns, it can be hard at times to hear if an enemy is attacking you or not. Because with the mannequins that have the guns, they do a twirl that makes a sound to let you know when you're supposed to avoid them. And it's the same with the other attacks that the mannequins do at long range. But the fact that I can't disable the audio for the music and for other sound effects means that while I'm busy mashing the circle button or the square button like crazy, while I'm holding out my guns, and the guns are making a lot of noise, there can be times where I can't even hear they're attacking. And then with the camera, because I can't control the camera whatsoever, and there's no kind of camera reset function, I can't tell if an enemy's attacking me. Like, you hear the twirl sound? And there's another guy with a gun, actually. Oh, and there we go. I tried to dodge, but the camera shifted at the wrong moment, so it misinterpreted my input, and I took damage. That is so dumb. See, I could barely hear the twirl sound just then. Like, could you even hear the twirl sound while I was busy firing my guns? And I dodged at the wrong moment. Yeah, it's like the Devil Trigger status is just there as a fail state more than anything. And I think when you do have Devil Trigger, you are able to make the enemies flinch. That's at least what the wiki says. And I know when you beat hard difficulty, you have the ability to select a different character. I think that's on New Game, though. Yeah, you can select the Legendary Dark Knight. And you do start off with a bit of Devil Trigger as well. And I don't know what other benefits this particular character has. Okay, but this guy looks like, is this guy's name Virgil? I think he's a character in Devil May Cry 5. He kind of looks similar. But obviously I have no resources at my disposal. However, I do have Devil Trigger, so I can definitely do some kind of action with Devil Trigger. We'll have to see, but the fact that I have to select that for this first mission is pretty ridiculous. Isn't this guy supposed to be Nilo Angelo? This is the guy Nilo Angelo was before he transformed. I think I'm getting that right, I'm not sure. But like, Dante Must Die feels like it was designed for New Game Plus, like I already said, not for New Game, which is rather odd, and it kind of invalidates the point of its existence if you have to play it on New Game Plus. If they made Dante Must Die exclusive to New Game Plus, I could understand it, like with the Batman Arkham series with New Game Plus, where you have all your abilities, but they actually rearranged the enemy placements, and they also added new constraints as well. Like, that's really cool, but this isn't really enhancing the experience, honestly. It didn't take me long to finish hard difficulty. However, I had quite a stupid time with some of the bosses like Nightmare because of the poor designs with the gameplay. The gameplay was just so obnoxious for so much of Devil May Cry 1 because of how much I was fighting the game's mechanics, how much I was fighting the camera, how much I was fighting other things as well, like with the enemy placements. People want to say, oh, this game had trouble development, but when it comes to making stupid decisions, that's independent of trouble development, because these same kind of stupid decisions can also appear in games that have been developed over the span of years, or like games that are actually given the gold standard for being ready. It's independent of trouble development. I look at Resident Evil 0 with the infected bat. The infected bat is a broken boss because of the fact that they put in those little bats that screw with the auto aim and prevent you from actually hitting the boss. So you're spending more time fighting the controls than you are fighting the actual boss. And Resident Evil 0 didn't have trouble development. You can't attribute trouble development as being a reason for very bizarre choices that go against the idea of common sense, that lead to very noticeable issues with the programming. So I'm not giving Devil May Cry 1 any sort of pass in that regard, especially when this game received critical acclaim for some bizarre reason. And I've heard people tell me that Devil May Cry 2 is worse, but they mainly said it's just down to how mindless the gameplay is. But if Devil May Cry 1 already has mindless gameplay like this, and I'm having to use my guns so much, the statements that they made about Devil May Cry 2 are on shaky foundations, basically. But people say Devil May Cry 3 is the better game of the series. Like, that's really when Devil May Cry actually started to get good. But it'll be a while before I get to Devil May Cry 3. There you go, that's what I was supposed to do. Oh, the music's different. I didn't notice that. Yeah, this is my first time actually playing as Virgil, I think his name is. Yamato? The legendary sword wielded by Sparta? But I thought the other weapon was. Like, at the end of the game when you get it and you're unable to use Devil Trigger while you're using it. It has the same lightning effect as Alistor, so how is it different exactly? Wow, that was really good. Whoa! I heard the shot as well, but I couldn't get away because I was stuck in the animations. Yeah, but now he's gonna double trigger. You're gonna see exactly what it's like on New Game. You're literally just standing at a distance, just shooting them like crazy. And these Bloody Marys, when they double trigger, they have almost as much life as Phantom, it feels like. But let me just see if this actually... oh no, it does make them flinch, okay. Okay, so the enemies do flinch if you're in Devil Trigger status. There we go. See, like, Dante Must Die really feels more befitting for this kind of character on New Game, but when you're playing as Dante, it's really not good. Like, it really becomes mind-numbing and very brain-dead in a lot of the designs. But this sequence here, you can do it as Dante if you just stand by this doorway and shoot them like crazy. How is this guy still alive? Did he Devil Trigger? There's no way he could have Devil Triggered if I was far away from him. Oh, they get knocked back. That's why. Oh, were they really taking, like, reduced damage when they were getting knocked back? You might have to play as Virgil or whoever this guy is when you're starting Dante Must Die, a new game. Having to waste time farming for resources is just so dumb. Yeah, but let me go back to Dante right now. If you're going to be doing new game on Dante Must Die for whatever reason, you might as well just spend a lot of time farming until you get, like, 20,000 red orbs. And then you need to buy, like, the 2 holy waters. You can get it done with just 1 holy water, but I really don't see the point in indulging with that. Because I do not want to be put into a position where I'm going to have to mindlessly shoot the mannequins while they're in Devil Trigger mode. Who wants to do a sequence like that? That's literally on par with staring at white noise on a TV while you're drooling and you have bloodshot eyes. Anyone with any basic common sense understands the folly of such sequences. I shouldn't have to explain it to you guys. And just imagine the people who don't have the ability to mash the buttons like crazy because they have disabilities in their fingers. Games back then were not made for those kind of individuals, and I imagine they would have to play with like turbo controllers or something in order to actually fire the guns super fast. And I even saw a tool-assisted speedrun, only the first video, only for like the first mission of Dante Must Die, a new game, and the guy was firing his guns super fast because of the turbo system provided by the tool assist. But getting past these guys, I'm gonna buy the 2 holy waters. When the enemy's Devil Trigger, you won't be able to kill them with the holy water. The holy water will only damage them. And holy waters are so expensive. 4,100 red orbs. That's precisely why you gotta farm like crazy. But I did learn a couple of things about some of the bosses, like with Phantom. So it turns out you can use Alistor to redirect the fireballs back at him if you melee at the right moment. And this trick has to be used to get past Pluto's dragon as well. And unfortunately, the game doesn't teach you that. It might mention the manual that you get if you played this game back in 2001, because I remember one of my subscribers mentioning that the reason why there aren't as many tutorials in the game is because it was expected back then that when you purchased the physical copy, because there were no digital versions back then, you would get the manual, and the manual would be teaching you everything. In fact, I think in one of the manuals for Resident Evil 3 OG, it mentions the quickshot technique of being able to fire your pistol faster, and I think that's with the Famitsu magazine, or was that actually with the regular game manual? I remember Carcinogen STA mentioning it when he interviewed Ioma-san for a Resident Evil 3 OG playthrough. But anyway, I'm gonna use the holy water to get rid of these waves. There we go. And I think the holy waters have infinite range because they affect all the enemies in the area. And I'm just gonna do what I did before and just stay in the back area and fire my guns. Because the problem with the Bloody Marys is that they block your hits, and the amount of times I'm trying to do this particular method, and I end up getting blocked by one of the Bloody Marys. I try to re-engage my hit, but then I end up blocking another enemy inadvertently, and then they stun me. The weird thing about that block that they do is that sometimes when you get blocked, you can immediately reinitiate your hit, but other times you just get put into a longer stun animation and you end up getting hit. I don't understand why there's that inconsistency sometimes when you get pushed back by the Bloody Mary's block. I forgot to mention that one of the reasons why you don't melee the mannequins when they're in Devil Trigger mode is because they have this tendency of grabbing a lot, and their grab is almost impossible to avoid because you're stuck in animations a lot of the times when they do it. Real exciting gameplay right now, but it's only to bypass the poor designs. This is what happens when you embrace poor designs, but then again, people will most likely be playing Dante Must Die on New Game Plus anyway, because it feels like Dante Must Die was designed for New Game Plus in mind, yet why the developers allow you to access it on New Game is confusing. Yeah, that's that. And then we have the fetish here, which is easy to dispatch. My fingers are starting to hurt right now, because unfortunately, the stress I put up on my fingers back then is still around right now. But that deals with that. I don't really understand how the rank works. It's clearly not factoring in time, but I really don't care. I know rank is important for red orbs, but when you're already able to farm for red orbs, then create a save, and then restart the mission, and then farm for red orbs again, it really doesn't matter. I will say, the thrust move was getting in the way a lot when I was trying to deal with Nilo Angelo, because I know using that animation cancel method, you can attack Nilo Angelo for way longer than what the game allows you to. That right there is interesting because Serum17 mentioned that when you do that particular method against these shadows, they don't immediately get put into critical health, but that's not true, so I don't know what he's talking about. Whoa. And Phantoms drop a lot of resources. And I know there's a bunch of Beelzebubs here. Oh, he devil triggered. But I need air hike and air raid. Air raid is another one that was very helpful against some of the bosses like Nightmare. I know in Seraphim 17's walkthrough he mentioned that Inferno on the Ifrit is very powerful, and it is. It's really useful against the Frosts, which are those frozen blades. Oh! Air hike is really useful against this enemy, so that you don't get caught in some of its attacks. Now, this part right here is random. Sometimes you can get those sin sights, I think they're called. Other times you can get those blades. I don't know why the enemy arrangement is randomized. And sometimes when you're dealing with the blades, I think you're supposed to kill 3 of them, but other times you kill more than 3, and yet the doors aren't unlocked, and I don't know why. There you go, that's that. Very simple. You just have to kill 3. I know there's more enemies, but the doors are unlocked. And they removed all the enemies from here, which is one of the smarter choices, because the amount of times you're trying to hit this thing, and the stupid stop block on your attack is prioritizing the enemy rather than the structure in front of you. That was one of the stupidest moments on normal difficulty, but good thing that's gone. The higher difficulties, there's only like hard and Dante Must Die, and they have the same enemy arrangements, but Dante Must Die, the enemies have more life, and they also have the ability to Devil Trigger, like you do. Except their Devil Trigger is permanent. I don't understand why it's not exactly like Dante's, where it's temporary. It's a bit odd. And they haven't changed this enemy placement. And getting rid of these enemies is pretty simple. Oh, come on. I say that and I get hit. There you go, that did it. Yeah, so it's nice as they incorporate that design with the Sin Sights and the Sin Scissors. It shows they actually care about their unique designs. These very creative, like, interesting designs for the players to discover, so they're not going to discard them on the highest difficulty arbitrarily. But still, though, when they Devil Trigger, it can be problematic. S rank. And I don't know why the background image on these mission clear screens is different. Sometimes it's Dante, other times it's Trish. Other times you get some other image. But here comes Phantom. This is a really stupid fight. Probably get more Devil Trigger, and that should do. And I don't need any of this right now. Those Sargassos, like those skulls, they die in one hit from the shotgun, and also from the grenade launcher, which is nice. So there are some, like, smart design choices with Dante Must Die, but for the most part, it's just very brain-dead gameplay most of the time, because you're having to deal with a lot of the poor designs at play. And it really showcases a lack of thought from the developers in QA, and it's like they didn't playtest the game properly for Dante Must Die, or they just really reserved it more so for New Game Plus, or like when you inherit all your items. Because I know in a guide I saw for Dante Must Die, they had like 28 holy waters upon first starting Dante Must Die because they inherited that save file, so you can pretty much farm for certain items on other playthroughs. It's just, I think if you reset the game, it will not respawn the items that you picked up, so you can't just like pick up an Untouchable, for instance, save the game, reset it, and then pick it up again. I think it saves when the items have been picked up, and it's not the same case with the red orbs. Okay, but this one, you need to use Ebony and Ivory, and the Phantom fight is still just as brain dead as how I showcased it back in the first part. And there's a lot of clunky hit detection moments, there's a lot of bad AI moments, and pretty much what the game wants you to do is do a bunch of aerial slams while you're in Devil Trigger mode, so that boss dies fast, but it's just so stupid. You're gonna see just how dumb it looks and how childish and brain dead it looks. During this flinch animation, he's unable to be damaged, unfortunately. Oh shit! That move will probably kill you instantly at the HP that I'm at. Here comes the final move. Yeah, so his moveset's the same between hard difficulty and Dante Must Die. Whoa! I could also be taunting him as well. What the hell? How'd he hit me? Oh, come on. Really? Also, on Dante Must Die, Devil Trigger does not heal you a bit. So you can't heal using Devil Trigger, unfortunately. I don't know why sometimes he shuts off like that. I don't know how to trigger that particular state where he... Oh, I got damaged. Yeah, it's just really fucking stupid. This is one of the dumbest boss fights I've ever seen in gaming history. It doesn't matter how seemingly troubled the development of Devil May Cry 1 was, because any rational developer would not design it like this. Oh shit! God damn it. Like, does this not look stupid to you guys? Just having to spam jump attacks like crazy, and then you get on top of Phantom, and you just fall off, and then you have to re-engage everything, and at times you don't even hit the right body part because you hit the shielded part of his body. It's just such a rudimentary concept for a boss, not to mention he has so much trouble pathing through the environment. Like, why would they put these pillars here if it's going to impact his ability to navigate the environment, and also your chances to actually hit his head, because that's the only part of his body that's vulnerable. Can I taunt him through the wall? Yeah, I can. Especially use R2 to get this particular taunt. So there's two different taunts. You push up on the right thumbstick to do the taunt that only restores one devil trigger. But if you press R2 or you pull back on the right thumbstick, you'll do the taunt that restores two of the devil trigger. Oh shit! I should not be punishing him like that. There's that retrograde projectile motion bug. He's firing it in a way that doesn't make any sense. There's so much here that clearly indicates this boss is unfinished, and this is the first boss of Devil May Cry 1. How could the designs put into this first boss border on so much confusion? It just makes no sense. You're setting a really bad standard and also really poor player expectations if you're designing a first boss to be this garbage and so brain-dead and childish. It's still so funny how in the file for Phantom it mentions standing on top of him shows that you're a true devil hunter, but look how much of a pain in the ass it is trying to stand on top of him, and with how awkward the physics are, and with the way the collision between Dante and Phantom works, it really comes across like a troll from the developers, and it's like they're reveling in this kind of awkward boss fight that they've made, and it really sends the wrong message to the player. All I'm doing is spamming jump attacks while in Devil Trigger mode, and I'm occasionally getting hits in on his weak spot, but I'm also hitting his armored parts as well. I mean, why on earth should Phantom have this much life when you're being forced to use a rudimentary strategy to actually deal a lot of damage to him? Yeah, every time he turns like that, he's always going to do an attack. Either it's going to be the fireball, or it's going to be the funnel move, so always bear that in mind. No, I gotta get closer to him so that I can, restore my devil gauge with a taunt. Come on, come on. Whoa, that was close. Almost there. One more. Two more. Oh, shit! Not yet. Okay, now should be good. I just gotta watch out for his funnel move. There we go. Yeah, that is so... Like, have you never seen a stupider fight than that? I mean, I've seen stupid fights before, but I just don't get what they were trying to accomplish with that particular fight, with the amount of HP he had, and the stupid method you have to do to get it done. It just makes no sense. And, like, how are you supposed to get an S rank on this guy? It's like you have to spam the guns on him, probably, but I don't think it builds up your rank by doing that, so you can't even get a high rank to get a bigger ranking bonus.